I'll say a couple quick things and let you fire away. It's been great to be going around, great to be here. Well, I do have to say, Iowa State messed my bracket up, so I don't know how great I feel about that. I thought they'd get to the Final Four, but hopefully next year. Of course, I have Wisconsin going all the way, but we're close. But it's great to be here. As I mentioned, we've been all over the state of Iowa. We started out on our 99 county tour yesterday in Davenport. We were in Cedar Rapids, Urbandale outside the capital city, and then into Council Bluffs yesterday. Started out with an event in Council Bluffs this morning. Went to Sioux City. Just came from a Harley dealership in Carroll. We're going to do another event yet tonight, a cookout at a farm in Marshallstown. And then tomorrow actually is going to be a lot of fun. We're doing a number of stops, and one of them being Plainfield. We're from 1970 to 77. My family lived. My brother was actually born in Waverly in 71. So we're pleased to be here in Iowa. We're committed to going through all 99 counties, or we call it here the full Grassley, just like Senator Grassley led the charge on, and Senator Ernst, and my friend Governor Branstad, and my friend Kim Reynolds have done over the years. We're committed to go to all 99 counties to make the case, as we talked about, that we think it's not too late to turn America around. We just need new leadership, new fresh leadership, big bold ideas from outside of Washington, the kind of leadership to get things done. So we're pleased to be here, and with that I'll take some questions.
Governor, your campaign put out a statement from Robert O'Brien challenging, in effect, Governor Bush's contention that the Iran deal can't be withdrawn on the first day. Are we supposed to read that statement as suggesting that Governor Bush isn't committed to getting rid of the Iran deal?
No, I read it for what it means, and the bottom line is, as many of you know, even though as a governor, the governors of either party don't deal day in and day out with foreign policy issues. I've been for the last 6 or 7 months meeting with foreign policy experts, meeting with national security experts, with former generals, with ambassadors, with foreign leaders, other policy experts, as well as accumulating a team, paid staff of people to help me on those policy issues, national security and foreign policy. And some of you here have actually asked if that's to be prepared for the debates. And I said, no, it certainly will help. But the reason I did that was because if I was going to run for President of the United States, I wanted to be prepared to be the President of the United States. And so our policies that we talk about now, our statements we put out are in preparation not to run a campaign or to enter a debate, but on January 20th of 2017, I want to be prepared to be president. And I believe that this deal with Iran is so bad, not just because of its implications regarding Iran's illicit nuclear infrastructure, but because we have the premier state sponsor of terrorism now being empowered within that region by lifting sanctions, which gives it economic capacity as well as precedent in terms of its credibility in the world. I think that's a bad enough deal that it needs to be terminated right off the bat. And I will work with the Congress not only to reinstate the already previously authorized sanctions, but to work with them in putting in place even more crippling sanctions and convince our allies to do the same.
So
to me, that's a problem. I just think it's a different opinion, and he may have his opinion. I believe that a president shouldn't wait to act until they put a cabinet together or an extended period of time. I believe they should be prepared to act on the very first day they take office. It's very possible, God forbid if this would happen, but very possible the President of the United States could be called, the next president could be called to take aggressive actions, including military actions, on their very first day in office. And I don't want a president who's not prepared to act on it day one. So as far as me, as far as my position, I'm going to be prepared to be president on day one.
Governor, I was speaking with Steve King at your last event in Carroll, and I asked him about something you've been saying in your stump speech, that people in Washington, there are people who fight these fights, but they lose, and that you would be different, that you would win your fights. Yeah. Steve King said in Congress it's a different arena. There's President Obama, and it makes it almost impossible, he used that word, impossible, to win some of those fights. How would you respond to that? Do you think it's realistic to hold Congress to the same standard?
Well, for a member of Congress today, when to be reelected, it's different. But if you want to be president, I think people don't want to have on-the-job training to see if you can do something or not. I think that's why historically, Americans, regardless of party, have historically elected executives, typically governors, presidents, or vice presidents, over members of Congress. That's why the last time we had a member of Congress elected president before this president was 1960. Because people want to know, what can you do? The same reason you're going to hire somebody to run your company. You don't want someone who's just been on the board of directors. You want someone who's actually run a company like the one you're asking them to take over. And so my point was not to belittle members of Congress, but rather to say, if you want to know what someone's going to do in office, the best thing to look at is, have they been a chief executive who's actually got things done? My point is, it's easy to talk, not easy, but it's easier to make a point that you're fighting for something in Washington or anywhere else than to actually do it. And we've done it. We have fought and won on the issues that matter, the common sense conservative reforms that people across this country care about. We've done it, and arguably in some of the most difficult circumstances of any place in the country.
Governor Walker, a lot of the candidates today talked about unifying the country, unity. After your acting reform in Wisconsin, which you told one of your supporters was a divide and conquer strategy, that the state's as polarized as it's ever been. So, when you talk about on the campaign trail that Americans want somebody who will bring people together, how can you be that candidate? How are you that person?
Well, I think it's one of those where in the end people want someone to get things done. And actually, just a correction, in our state in 2000 and 2004, Wisconsin was the closest blue state in America. So Wisconsin was politically evenly divided long before I was governor, before I took action on Act 10. This is not a new phenomenon. It's been in place. It's just been more attention has been drawn to it. Politically, again, there was a difference between President Bush and Al Gore, and between President Bush and Secretary Kerry of about 1,000 votes, or a few thousand votes, about on average 1 vote per precinct in both those elections. So it's a very evenly divided state politically. Historically, it's been more Democrat than Republican, but it's one where we've won 3 times. I think in the end, what people want to know is, what are you for? And in this election, as you've heard me say since Monday, I'm going to talk about what I'm for. It's why, other than calling attention to something I thought was personal, and that was the statement about Senator McCain, who I believe is an American hero, and I will defend him and any other prisoner of war, for that matter, any other veteran, any day, anytime, anyone in any way undermines their position as an American hero. But aside from that, I said on policy, I'm not going to comment about other Republicans. I'm going to stay focused on telling people what I'm for and what we can do to make this country great again.
Governor Walker, on the upcoming Republican debates, is it appropriate for any candidates to participate who haven't committed to supporting the party's nominee in 2016?
I mean, I think I'm going to talk about what I'm for, no matter what the circumstances are at that debate. I'll leave the debate format up to the RNC and the people putting on the debate.
Governor Walker, you made comments upstairs regarding Planned Parenthood. If you're elected as president, is that one of your top priorities, further defunding of Planned Parenthood?
Well, to me, as I did in Wisconsin, I think when you see these videos, it's yet another reminder that there are far more appropriate ways to spend taxpayers' money that can provide for women's health issues in ways that aren't controversial. In our state, we took money away from Planned Parenthood, and we gave it to entities like county public health departments, which still provided for women's health issues. We just did so in a way that wasn't highly controversial.
Governor, can you talk about clear up any misconceptions there are about the funding to the sports arena in Wisconsin? Can you talk about the funding for that? Or does it
and for us, it's simple. It's right now we get $6.5 million every year because of the NBA players paying a prorated portion of their income tax in the state of Wisconsin. The state's commitment was $4 million. It's even less now with the changes they made the other day in the Senate, assuming that holds in the Assembly. That to me is a pretty good deal. For less than $4 million, you get to not only keep $6.5 million worth of revenue that would otherwise be gone. Over the next 20 years, that probably doubles without doing anything to change the rates out there. That's a pretty good deal for people who care about lowering taxes or supporting schools or higher education or anything else out there like that. It doesn't add a new tax. It doesn't do anything more than what's already in place. It just protects the financial interest of the state and the local community.
Governor, do you interpret Donald Trump's comments as an insult to veterans more broadly beyond John McCain?
Well, I'll leave that up to other veterans to say that. The tweets and the comments I've seen seem to suggest that's how they believe it is. And to me, I think anytime someone takes a swipe at a veteran, particularly a veteran who was a prisoner of war, I mean, over the years, I've been honored to know and get to talk with a number of prisoner of war. Actually, John McCain was someone I met 30 years ago. In 1985, he was a second-term congressman, if I remember right. He was a guest at the American Legion's Boys Nation program when I was a student in high school going to that program. And we had incredible rates, including young men at that program who clearly had more Democrat than Republican. It wasn't because he was a Republican congressman, it was because he had served his country, was a prisoner of war. I don't want to go too far in this, but as I recall from his story, because of his position, the position of his father, he could have probably gotten out sooner. But he didn't want to put the others at risk because of that. I mean, this is an honorable man. And again, you may have a policy disagreement with him here or there, or any other American might, but we should never, ever, ever question the patriotism and the heroism of someone like John McCain. And I'll speak out for him and any other prisoner of war anytime, anywhere, any place, regardless of politics.